Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 2024 Chicago Public Library Foundation Awards.
We're all here tonight because we believe in the transformative power of libraries. From summer learning and neighborhood cultural programs to digital literacy support, tools for success, to preserving the history of the city of Chicago.
Libraries are valuable and they deserve our protection because they're really a place where it offers people like me an opportunity to travel, an opportunity to learn. Once you're able to see a thing, you can be a thing. In a lot of cases, your first chance to see that thing is at a library.
The libraries welcome people and residents from Chicago, independent of race, sex, sexual orientation, origin, people with accents.
The libraries mean so much to all of us. I really want to thank everybody at the library, everybody who works no matter what you're doing, whether you're a page or a branch manager. You are so important to our communities.
When I was about 11 years old, I knew that I wanted to become an actor, and I actually didn't know how to do that. It was a librarian that I went up to, and I asked her, I said, "How do I become an actress?" And she said, "Well, I'm not sure, but I'm sure we can get you on the path."
And then I really want to thank our Chicago Public Library Foundation staff. We are a small and mighty staff. There are 11 of us. And the heart and soul that we all pour into this event, we hope that you experience tonight.
We break up with fun a little bit to really inspire all of you here to be supporters, to find your own personal way where you can dig deep and help us make a little bit more money so that we can continue to fund transformative programs for our very own Chicago Public Library.
Since 2000, the Chicago Public Library Foundation Awards has honored authors and artists and leaders who deepen our understanding of the world. Tonight, we recognize 3 exceptional storytellers, Cristina Henríquez, Chance the Rapper, and Ann Patchett.
To Cristina Henríquez and Ann Patchett, we look forward to celebrating your amazing talents this evening. And to Chance, welcome home to Chicago and to your library.
But it's not just about holding our history. It's important that the library speaks to our future. You hear me say all the time that I truly believe that this is the best city in the world. It's why our library system is second to none.
We're especially privileged that joining tonight's 3 honorees are 35 additional local authors. Ben Austin, Lisa Barr, Rowan Beard, master biographer Jonathan Ike turned his talents to a comprehensive look at Martin Luther King Jr. and earned the Pulitzer Prize. Monica Ing, Elizabeth Flock, acclaimed documentarian Linda Gartz, April Gibson, Melissa Harris, Leslie Honoré, Lindsay Hunter, Beth Eusnis Johnson, James Kleiss, Mary Kubakania, P. Manansala, and Morrissey. Sure, we already know M.K. Pritzker as the First Lady of Chicago. Wow, you look silly. But tonight she joins us as an author, Kathleen Rooney, Dr. Francesca T. Royster. Wait, don't tell me if it isn't Peter Sagal. No, you're not here to work with me tonight. Nancy Stevenson, Ben Tanzer, Liz Taylor. Welcome to the author that NPR named a literary badass. Pulitzer Prize finalists Luis Alberto Urrea, Shelby Van Pelt, Rick Bayless, J. Nicole Brooks, Eve L. Ewing, Dr. Armina Goajay, Eric Charles May, Natalie Moore, Nami Moon, urban historian Sherman Dilla Thomas. One more time for all of our authors. In honor of this evening, I want to read a piece written by the Library Foundation Awards design partner, FCB, that captures the magic of this night. Books are the hooks that ignite the mind. Met with classes and code, lessons borrowed from this wellspring, creating lyrics that wind, knowledge to find, help in kind, and the peace that only simple silence can bring. Where the blossoming dreamer decides to take flight, and their great journey's course begins like the string out to the streets towards the community's light to change this world of all living things with that tremendous power of transformation. At the heart of tonight's celebration is the Chicago Public Library Foundation's commitment to bolstering the library's citywide impact with donor-funded programs such as the free homework help, teen spaces, and digital literacy learning for adults. To tell you more about the impact of these programs, here is Chicago Public Library Commissioner Chris Brown and Chicago Public Library Foundation President and CEO Brenda Bowie, and a few of our teens coming to us from the Harold Washington Library Center's U Media Teen Space.
Hi, I'm Chris Brown.
And I'm Brenda Bowie.
As we celebrate never-ending transformations that happen every day in our Chicago Public Library, it's only fitting that we come to you from the U Media Teen Lab here at the Harold Washington Library Center.
U Media is the teen space where we welcome our teen patrons into the library. There's lots of things to inspire teens, to give them spaces to explore their interests, to connect with each other. We have opportunities for teens to learn fashion and sewing. We do a lot of maker type activities with 3D printing, vinyl cutting. We have our musical instruments here behind me. Kids will come and just jam out and form little impromptu jam sessions, playing guitar, keyboard, drums with each other. One of U Media's tenets was to transform teens from consumers of media to creators of media. And you can kind of sense that it's something they've really been craving.
The creative energy in this space is incredible. More than a decade ago, Chance the Rapper, a teenager, recorded his music here.
And I'm still Mr. U Media.
And now we are honoring Chance with this year's Arts Award.
Stories like Chance's are so inspiring, and it's what keeps us motivated to do the work that we do. Our library believes that access to transformative learning opportunities is a right for all youth, and we're grateful for the city's legacy of support that ensures every neighborhood has a library for Chicagoans to learn and to connect.
My first time coming into U Media, it was so cool. There was a band practicing, there were teens playing video games, there were people cutting stuff up. Teens just having this space to do productive and cool and interesting things and hobbies.
Kids, we don't really have a lot of spaces for us to become friends with people from other schools and just branch out a little bit.
I feel like U Media has helped me become more social. I feel like it's helped me become more creative because it inspired me to do more.
I think U Media has definitely helped me break out of my shell and talk to people that I probably wouldn't have talked to otherwise. It's definitely transformed that part of my life.
As a digital content intern, I help edit videos, I help capture videos for the library, get people in action, and then just kind of piecing those together to help inform teens about different events and resources that the library has.
I feel like I've learned how to put people's ideas together, how I'm being heard, someone else is being heard. Also, kind of just being curious about what the library has, because I feel like if I'm curious, then I can help other people be more curious about it. Whether I was a kid or a teen, I know I'm safe here. I can come to the library, and it's just a great positive environment.
We have a lot of teens who maybe wouldn't have chosen the path that they are on without coming to the space and experiencing something new.
Technology moves fast, and it's really important to kind of keep up and continue to offer teens kind of the cutting edge thing. If they're thinking about a career in a certain pathway.
I've always been into art. It's always kind of been my thing, but I've always kind of been insecure about it. One of my teen librarians came up to me and she said, "Hey, this is really good. You should submit this to our Teen Winter Challenge." And she helped me out. And I submitted it, and I ended up becoming a finalist in the contest. Kind of convinced me, I was maybe I can do this. And it's kind of inspired me, because now I'm going to college. Now I want to do something in the art field.
From this single space in Harold, Washington, to now 29 U Media spaces across the city, we welcome teens every day where they can find a sense of belonging, mentorship, and opportunities to explore their interests. From art to music to science, these programs and resources shape them into future leaders who will envision the next chapter of our city. Media is just one example of the impact between the Chicago Public Library and the foundation.
From activating our 81 locations as creative and dynamic learning spaces that allow us to go above and beyond for Chicagoans of all ages and stages of life. From offering free homework help through teachers in the library to supporting Chicagoans through their digital learning journey, whether that's learning how to operate a computer for the very first time, to applying for jobs online, to connecting communities through art and conversations with our citywide book club, One Book, One Chicago, or our free Maker Lab space.
Through the work of our librarians and the overwhelming support of our donors, we can launch transformative learning journeys for Chicagoans, empowering them to chart their path and open exciting doors of opportunities.
Thank you to everybody who supported this program.
It means all the difference in these teens' lives. It means that they can access new opportunities and experiences through our spaces.
It's really just been this great welcoming space, and I know I'll always have a home at the library.
Wow. Let's hear it for Chicago Youth and Media. Of course, none of this happens without you, and it's incredible to see our teens just thriving in their library, discovering their passions, exploring those ideas and the trajectories that are going to shape their futures. It's moments like these that remind us why libraries matters, not just as buildings, but as launch pads for potential. To help young people chart their own paths, we also have to continue to reinvent ourselves as a library, the future of CPL. Again, that's where your support makes a difference. You allow us to dream big, to go bold, and show up every day to ensure that our youth, our students, and families discover the magic of the Chicago Public Library. Because of you, the library will remain a vital resource and beacon for opportunity. So thank you for believing in us, and thank you for investing in a future where every Chicagoan has the chance to thrive.
What we just saw in this video is why libraries are often referred to as third places. The learning spaces that we seek outside home and school and work, these third places are where doors to discovery swing wide open, where we join others on their paths of exploration. Libraries are where we feel that we belong. The Chicago Public Library Foundation invests directly into these programs that turn our library spaces into places of lifelong learning and connection for every Chicagoan, in every neighborhood. You all make this possible, and you are champions of never-ending transformation. I am now honored to begin our awards presentation with our 21st Century Award, which honors storytellers with ties to Chicago. Many of our previous, as we heard earlier, 21st Century honorees are in the room tonight. We're so happy to have you here so that you can support our 2024 honoree, Cristina Henríquez.
At 6 years old, Cristina Henríquez would sit along the Panama Canal with her parents and watch ships inch their way through the passage.
My dad is from Panama. I've been going there every year since I was 8 months old. That was just our default summer vacation. And as a kid, I didn't quite know what to make of it. I thought it was sort of boring.
But those experiences would spark a curiosity about that place and form the start of her latest book, The Great Divide, about the construction of the canal and the people who built it.
What is it like to live through the time when that's happening? I mean, when your country is physically being cut in half.
What were all the stories, the human stories that were beneath the water? What were all of the things that I didn't know that I had been looking at all of those years? And I just really wanted to imagine, you know, what it was like for ordinary people to live through this extraordinary time.
From the Book of Unknown Americans, exploring the lives of Latin American immigrants living in America.
Just as individuals, one of the things that we can try to do is to understand these people and what they're going through, just like, you know, on a human level.
To the World in Half, about a young woman learning about and reconciling her complicated parents' relationship, to her collection of short stories of Panamanians living their everyday lives, come together, fall apart. The Henríquez stories are engaging, relatable, empathetic, and help us make sense of the challenges and struggles of life as few authors can. Perhaps the reason her stories are so human is the very human way she writes them.
I go back to writing by hand, writing in a notebook, and it is nutty. Like, things are diagonal, there's like arrows all over the place, and I'm having so much fun. It feels free, and that is so important for creation.
For creating doorways into everyday lives and walking us through them, we present Cristina Henríquez with this year's 21st Century Award.
Thank you. Years ago, I was at this event as a writer, like all of the writers who are at the tables with you all, and it is absolutely bonkers to me that I've been invited back this time to accept this award, and I'm really grateful, so thank you. We live in this time, as we all know, of heated rhetoric and division, but I'm going to start by saying what I think, in the context of this room and this evening at least, is probably the most uncontroversial statement ever, which is that libraries are amazing. As a child, I loved my school library, and when I was in high school, I lived in a college town, so I used to go to the university library on weekends and browse the stacks looking for poems by Dylan Thomas or plays by Samuel Beckett, you know, just for fun, as totally nerdy / obviously cool high school students do. I went to Northwestern, just up the road, and when I was in college, I used to study in the magnificent Deering Library with its Gothic-stained windows and soaring ceilings. Well, I say study, but half the time I was simply, again, wandering around, looking in awe at all of the books on the shelves, pulling them down one at a time, reading about Degas or about Martha Graham. And now, as an adult, I go to my local public library multiple days a week, sometimes every day in a week. I check out books there, of course. And here's a side note, my one party trick is that I have my entire 15-digit library card number memorized. Again, totally nerdy, obviously cool. But libraries, even though they are glorious cathedrals for books, also provide so much more. They give people a space. When my daughter was young and the house felt too chaotic for me to be able to write at home, I would walk to my local library and sit in a blissfully silent study room and work. For 2 hours a day, it was my sanctuary. The library gave me a space away from everything else where I could think and create. And I wrote almost every page of my third book, The Book of Unknown Americans, in those study rooms. When I wrote my latest book, The Great Divide, I relied on the librarians to help me find research materials I needed. An obscure article about the songs that laborers sang as they worked on the Panama Canal? Yes, I was told they could get me access to that. Maps of Bridgetown, Barbados from 1907? Check. A rare book that had to be shipped from elsewhere in the country and that was so old and so fragile that it arrived in its own protective box? Yes, they could get me that too. I honestly think I could not have written the novel I did had it not been for the efforts of those research librarians. And now I'm working on my next book, and I'm writing in the library again, sitting in a blissfully quiet study room with nothing but a pen and a notebook and my thoughts. My library opens at 9 a.m., And often when I arrive, there are a few other people already standing outside waiting for the doors to open, and I take that as a really good sign because it means that the library is loved and used. It provides a space every day for people who need it for all sorts of reasons. Parents bring their children to the library, just as I did when my children were young. They come to look at the fish swimming in the fish tank, or for story hour, or to do a craft. Other people come to use the computers or to print out things or to look for a job. People sit and read newspapers and magazines. Students come for tutoring, and during finals week, the library is overrun with high school students who come to the library because it offers them a space to study. The free pizza probably doesn't hurt either. The other day, I was at the library and an announcement came over the loudspeaker. I heard one of the librarians say that in 5 minutes, anyone was welcome to meet up on the main floor for coffee and conversation. That's the name of the group, Coffee and Conversation. The library provides coffee, and people who have never met each other before sit around a table and just have a conversation. A librarian gets the conversation going by asking prepared questions like, would you ever eat an insect? And then people are off to the races. Perfect strangers getting to know each other, being in community, which is a beautiful thing, the thing that we so badly need, and it's facilitated entirely by the library. Libraries give everybody a space. They are bastions of freedom. You can walk into a library and without a dime in your pocket, no matter who you are or where you come from or where you're going, you can stop in and do any number of things. You can look at original artwork, maybe photographs that take you back to Pilsen as it was 30 years ago, as I did here. You can take a class, you can use a sewing machine, you can play the piano in a free music room. You can wander among the shelves and discover a book that leads you to another book and another after that. You can find from that unassuming stop into a library that your life has been somehow transformed. You can find, much to your surprise, that in fact, you didn't just walk into a library. You walked into a space that contains the whole world. A space where every philosophy and religion and political treatise and scientific notion and play and poem and story is right there on a shelf. It's a space where the people who work within it are dedicated to ensuring that all of that, not some, but all of that stays right there on the shelf. Certain books, in my experience, come into your life at just the right time, but books can't come into your life at all if they're not there to be found. Thank you to all of the librarians who work tirelessly to make sure that they are. Thank you to the Chicago Public Library Foundation for this enormous honor, and thank you to librarians everywhere and libraries everywhere for giving everyone a space.
What do you call a librarian who raps? A rap-brarian. Give it up for a special performance by Chicago's rap-brarian, Roy Kinsey.
Yo, what up? My name is Roy Kinsey, rapper, librarian, happy to be here with y'all tonight. This song is called West Side. A generation out of the projects, addicted to spending money. Seem to find ourselves in bitter quandary. Mama's goal was not leaving the house to do the laundry. Now you got back one of your off days. Take a walk up Broadway. It really is the legacy for me. Yes, leave your kids something to help this LLC. But what we really need is time. Time around the table, multiply some baby king. I wanna rap like Baby King. Got a Martin-sized dream. Fiends lean like a lean on your house. Just to stand tall, did you lean on your spouse when you felt stuck in? Who helped you make it out? Maybe just a better neighborhood with better schools, where teachers got the freedom and teach the truth. Maybe no more generations lying to the youth. All that money for school, what that academy do? West Side, West Side, West Side. y'all feel inclined, y'all can join in. West Side. Came from Mississippi to the West Side. Used to beg the landlord, let the rent slide. All we trying to do is live our best life. All we trying to do is live our best life. Came from Mississippi to the West Side. Used to beg the landlord, let the rent slide. All we trying to do is live our best life. I wear the shade when the darkest God made. Looked in the mirror like God really played. Put on your crown cause it's already paid. Put on your crown cause it's already paid. Would aim for your head but I'm already stayed. Please let me enjoy the life that you gave. Like it's your life. Couldn't imagine being God, that's your life. Still pray more life. It really is the legacy for me. Take me out of town to a place that I can breathe. Shooting spree where there ain't no shooting spree. With some trees, believe. Maybe just a better neighborhood with better schools. Teachers got the freedom to teach the truth. Maybe no more generations lying to the youth. All that money for school, what that academy do? West Side, let's live. Best life, best life. West Side, West Side, West Side. Came from Mississippi to the West Side. Used to beg the landlord, let the rent slide. All we tryna do is live our best life. All we tryna do is live our best life. Came from Mississippi to the West Side. Used to beg the landlord, let the rent slide. All we tryna do is live our best life. Thank you. My name is Roy Kinsey. Please be on the lookout for Rapbrary and my new album, A Legacy Project. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Roy, again for a fantastic performance that entertained all of us. So what a perfect setup for our next honoree. Chicago is home to so many artists, and the library has been instrumental in fostering art across all ages. So I couldn't be more honored to introduce the Arts Award. The Chicago Public Library Foundation Arts Award celebrates the power and the impact of Chicago artists in our community and around the world. This year's Arts Award is made very special by the fact that his musical journey was elevated and started at the library itself. Maybe the first time in 22 years since my daughter was born, she might consider me half cool. Because it's my honor to present our Arts Award honoree to Mr. Hugh Meteor himself, a true Chicagoan, a creative global superstar, Chance the Rapper.
Hey everybody. I'm Chance.
What can a name tell you about a person? When you stylize yourself as the rapper, you make it pretty clear to the world what you are all about. Chancellor Bennett, better known to us as Chance the Rapper, put his ambitions right in the title when he launched his music career from the most unlikely of places.
Did you perform in libraries?
There was an after-school program when I was growing up called U Media.
I still got orange and white cassette tapes. Since when my neighbors came to spectate. People that's tough now used to get little in the dark. It's all cool now, we're all little kids at heart.
Much of his career came from unexpected places. From his debut mixtape, 10 Day, recorded while serving a 2-week suspension from school, to Coloring Book, becoming the first streaming-only album to win a Grammy.
Chance the Rapper!
He has become one of the most recognizable voices in music. Whether he's singing catchy hits or introspective melodies.
Family pots for school clothes, get the uniform, not the cool clothes. Having no drip like the pool clothes. At least I had a jacket, some of the kids at the school froze.
But if he ever decided to change his title, he would have an extensive list of alternatives to pull from.
In the spirit of giving, I've pledged to give $1 million to Chicago Public Schools. I'm challenging major companies and corporations in Chicago and all across the U.S. to donate and to take action.
He is one of Chicago's most prolific activists, donating and supporting worthwhile causes and boosting support for education, youth programs, and equality.
Funding quality education for public students is the most important investment a community can make.
For his legendary music career and for uplifting Chicagoans, we present the Arts Award to Chance the activist, Chance the businessman, Chance the rapper.
Well, down. First, I just want to say thank you guys for having me in here, for thinking of honoring me. This is a room full of very, very intelligent and cool and influential people. And like they said in the video, I got my start at the library downtown. It's really cool to be here because it reminds me how much of a writer I am, you know what I mean? To be honored, around real authors and novelists and in rooms with journalists and just people that are telling stories. It makes me feel validated as a creative. And yeah, I'm a rapper. I'm a part of hip hop. And if you didn't know, hip hop, when you break it down, is hip and hop. The hip means intelligence, right? You got to be in the know. So it's about culture. It's about sharing ideas. It's about information. And then the hop is the movement. And I think we're in just a really critical time. People say that every year, but like this shit getting critical. And so I think it's important to honor the novelists, the storytellers, the creatives, the historians, the reporters, because we are the first and last line of defense when it comes to truth-telling and creating a better world. And so it's amazing to be honored up here with Ann and with Cristina and with everybody in this room. And hopefully I will earn this award. But thank y'all for giving it to me right now. Appreciate y'all. Peace.
Again, congratulations, Chance, and thank you for everything you do to open doors of opportunities for teens in our city. Chicago, the Library Foundation community are cheering you on here in Chicago and beyond. It's a true pleasure to do all this work with a partner whose dedication to the library's mission is truly inspiring. It's now my honor to introduce my good friend, great dancer, as we have all seen tonight, Kimberly Good, fellow board member and co-chair of tonight's event. Kimberly.
Well, hello again. So thank you, Michael, for that introduction. And in my hat as a sponsor tonight, let me talk a little bit about why BMO is a supporter of this work. First of all, BMO is led by our purpose, which is to boldly grow the good in business and life. And we've been a proud presenting sponsor for 8 years for these Library Foundation Awards, but we've also been a proud supporter of the foundation for 20 years now. At BMO, we understand that a bold, forward-looking, and responsive public library is key to strong communities, and I think you've seen evidence of that tonight. And that's why we continue to invest in our city's library to make sure that no matter who you are, no matter what your age, no matter your family, or where you live in Chicago, you have access to the transformative programming to learn, to grow, and to connect. Now, I'm also a board member, and as you've heard, co-chair of this event. So I want to thank all of you once again for your support and for all the investments that you make in the library. I want you to use those QR codes that I didn't tell you about earlier. They're on the table, they're on the back of your program, and you can use those to easily support our programs. This awards event is really one that uplifts the transformative voices and stories, and we've been doing that since the year 2000. And we've honored and celebrated people like Margaret Atwood and Toni Morrison, Salman Rushdie, and Colson Whitehead. We honor storytellers that interpret and redefine the perspectives of our world. So this event is not just one where we have a lot of fun and we celebrate, but it does provide that crucial funding so that we can continue to have the full scope of library and library foundation work together to really address the needs and the programming that our communities need. So in gratitude, we thank you for your support tonight. And now it's my honor to announce our next honoree. This internationally best-selling author is someone that I had the pleasure of meeting last year at her bookstore, Parnassus Books in Nashville. We were there to celebrate the Carol Shields Prize for Fiction, the largest literary prize. Oh, I love it. I got some applause over here. It is the largest literary prize that celebrates creativity and excellence in fiction for women and non-binary writers in Canada and the United States. And that's where we will take another little applause. It's the largest, which is so awesome. So while last year we were in Parnassus and celebrating there, others, tonight we are here to celebrate Ann. And I am so honored to present the most prestigious literary award in the Midwest, the Carl Sandburg Literary Award, to Ann Patchett.
The joy of writing a novel is getting to learn things that you don't know anything about.
A classic piece of writing advice is, write what you know. Author Ann Patchett feels a bit differently.
When I was writing State of Wonder, I wanted to know about malaria. I met a guy at a party who was an epidemiologist. I didn't say I'm a novelist. I didn't say anything. I'm really interested in malaria. Can I come and just shadow you for the day? And he said that they were always looking for people to test the vaccine on. And I was like, me, pick me. I want to get malaria. I want to get a test vaccine.
Thankfully, her adventures in story research haven't gone wrong yet. But a dedication to taking us to new settings has given us 9 novels, 5 nonfiction books, and dozens of short stories and essays from the author Time magazine named one of its 100 most influential people in the world.
It does crack me up, the idea of being a famous literary novelist. It's like being a famous podiatrist or something, you know.
Her career started as a magazine writer, including working for 17. In 1992, she published her first novel, The Patron Saint of Liars, about a California woman escaping to a Kentucky home for unwed mothers. From a cherry orchard in Michigan for her latest novel, Tom Lake, to a mansion in Pennsylvania for Pulitzer Prize finalist The Dutch House, to a South American presidential home taken over by terrorists in Bel Canto.
How did I do?
Patchett continuously takes us on new heartfelt journeys with memorable characters and powerful themes of connection and exploration of relationships.
An idea for a book has to be worth my time, but I'm also really aware of the reader's time and whether or not I want to take up your time to read a book.
Her essays have been published in 2 collections. This is The Story of a Happy Marriage, a collection of personal writings about her own life, and These Precious Days, about her relationships with friends and family, as well as The Getaway Car, a memoir about writing itself.
I just walk around and think, Look at all these people who want to buy books and read books and talk about books. Look at these wonderful group of fantastic genius misfits.
Do you think we should have a lamb slide? The lambs ask the goat.
On top of her staggering catalog of novels and stories, she has also written 3 children's books, including her most recent work, The Verts, about the bonds formed between introverts and extroverts. In addition to being a writer of books, she is a seller of books,
Hi, everybody. It's Ann Patchett at Parnassus Books.
opening her own bookstore, Parnassus Books, in 2011, where she shares her favorite new reads.
This is a book about a kid who gets on an elevator to go and avenge his brother's death.
And her dog Nemo on social media.
Ready? Ready? Okay.
Reading and writing are like walking on 2 legs. It's one and the other and one and the other and one and the other.
For her work connecting us with new books, bringing together unforgettable characters and taking us places we, and even she, didn't know we wanted to go.
I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a writer. I never wanted to be anything else in my life.
We are honored to present the Carl Sandburg Literary Award to Ann Patchett.
All right, now I know we are ready to hear more from Ann, so I'm excited now to welcome to the stage Scott Simon, one of America's most admired writers and broadcasters, host of NPR's Weekend Edition, and a dear friend of the Chicago Public Library and the Chicago Public Library Foundation.
Hi, Scott Simon. Thank you, Kimberly.
May I call you by the nickname I call you?
Yeah,
Country bookseller.
right. So, can I tell you a story about Scott Simon? I love this story.
I don't think we have enough time to get to that, Ann.
I have Scott's American Express card. I do. And he will email me and say, I would like this book and this book and this book and this book.
Yeah.
And I send it. He doesn't order books through the bookstore. He just emails me at home. And then I go in and I use your American Express card. So at one point, I sent your dog Daisy a squeaky toy that my dog Sparky really loved.
Yeah.
And you emailed me and you said, that's an amazing squeaky toy. You have my American Express. Could you get me 5 more of these squeaky toys and send them to me? And I said, actually, Scott, at that point, I become your secretary and not your country bookseller. So I had to say that I could buy your books, but not your squeaky toys. It's a really important line to hold.
Thank you, Ann Patchett. What do you, all right, I can't wait to get into this because I've been reading about you and what made you a writer. I absolutely ran into the fact your father, who was a Los Angeles police officer, detective, arrested some very prominent people.
He did.
Prominent, notorious people.
Prominent murderers, yes.
Did that contribute to your point of view? Were you always trying to figure out motivation, what could drive people, where that takes human life?
My father was part of a group of people who brought in Charles Manson and the Manson family. And he was also the person who picked up Sirhan the night he killed Bobby Kennedy and arrested him. I love my dad. My dad's been dead 10 years. And he was a great reader. He was a great fact checker, just a great person to talk to about plot and story. But there is something in my brain that is a detective. And I think that just genetically, I would have been a good novelist or a good detective. And I remember one day my husband and I went to the hardware store and we bought a wrench. I don't know why we needed a wrench. And I held it up and I said, "Could you kill somebody with this?" And my husband's a doctor, and he took my arm and he was like, "What happened to you as a child? Why do you have to always ask questions like that?" But I think that is my father. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And I will never disturb you with my squeaky toy orders again. All right, I'll go through the website. I gather, though, reading about your childhood, and Ann has written lyrically about her childhood and between Southern California and Nashville, and a wonderful essay that she wrote about her three fathers, because you had your father and two subsequent
Yeah, something that we have in common.
That's true.
We have three fathers.
Three fathers, come to think of it.
That's the basis of our friendship, really.
And my American Express card, but
I've enjoyed it.
I digress. By the way, you're dressed beautifully. Do we have an American Express card too? Thank you. That's it. But where was I going? I gather when you were a child, your father was trying to persuade you to. Was it you played tennis against a wall of Ralph's supermarket?
Yeah, in the alley. Did anybody do that? Did anyone have parents who took them to the alley behind the grocery store at 6 o'clock in the morning to lob tennis balls, or was that just me?
Well, I'm sure there's some Chicago version of it, but
probably.
But you wanted to be a reader and a writer.
Yes. Right? Yes. Yeah, my dad wanted me to play volleyball. He wanted me to be well-rounded, and I wasn't. I was like a gymnast who began gymnastics at 3 and never learned how to do anything else. I was very good at one thing, and the one thing I kept doing. I often think about those rats, you know, that they go and they touch their nose to a button and they get corn. And so why would you go to the other buttons? Because they're not going to give you corn. I just kept going back to that one button. I just wanted to be a writer.
And yet you have created so many characters who are so good.
Right? That's how I am well-rounded in my imagination, but just not in reality. It's really funny. What was I doing? I was doing an event for Our Town in New York last week. I went to see
Tom Lake.
Tom Lake, the last novel, was about Our Town. And so I went to see the play, and then I interviewed a group of actors at Symphony Space the next night. And they were saying, "Well, did you ever play Emily in Our Town?" "No." "But you were an actress?" "No." "How could you write about summer stock, about acting, if you hadn't done this so convincing, clearly?" And I said, "But I wasn't an actress, and I wasn't a cherry farmer, and I don't have children, and I'm not an opera singer, and I am not a malarialist, and I'm not an ichthyologist." I mean, the things that I'm not go on and on and on forever.
Well, don't keep running yourself down, Ann. You're a wonderful novelist.
I have a really good imagination, and I'm very good at paying attention.
I was struck by something, and by the way, all of you are lucky to have at your table, I hope it's all of you, the wonderful annotated edition to Bel Canto. You're a little hard on yourself in some of those annotations. You write at one point, "I am a better writer now," and the proof of it is all over these pages. Firstly, only a genuinely successful novelist can have the effrontery to write that in a public place, but what made you say that? What have you gotten better at?
What made me say it was I took on this project. So what you have on the table is the annotated Bel Canto. Can I just do this really quickly? I'll give you the backstory. So a little bookstore outside of Boston hit very hard by COVID, trying to raise money. They asked 20 writers to annotate a copy of one of their books, and I annotated Tom Lake. And it was a very interesting, enjoyable process. I, like most writers, have never gone back and reread any of my old books. That was very interesting. Also, I am whatever the opposite of being a procrastinator is. I get my homework done really early. So I finished this assignment 3 months before it was due. And I put it aside, and when it came time to mail the book in, I felt a little bad. I was like, this is an interesting document. So I got another copy of Tom Lake, and I spent 3 days copying my annotations into another book so I would have one to keep. And that's when I really could see how this was about making a novel. So I took that second copy, I sent it to my editor, and said, how would you feel about me doing an annotated copy of one of my books? It wouldn't be Tom Lake, it would probably be Bel Canto. And then he said, yeah, that's a great idea, because annotation is what scholars do to the work of dead people. It's not something that living people do to their own work. And as I was working on it, because I am a bookseller, I started to think, I want to bring this book out on election day because there just is a dead zone around elections. From the middle of October to the middle of November, people are very nervous about publishing things. There are a lot of cookbooks coming out right now. So I thought, I want to do this as kind of a gift to bookstores. Look, here, you'll have something to sell next Tuesday. And I got it done. You know, we just knuckled down and got it done quickly. And it was really fun. It was like an enormous craft project. And I learned so much about that book, but also about the way I work by the process of annotating.
Well, what have you gotten better at, do you think?
Writing. I've gotten better at writing. It's really funny. There are a lot of people who love Bel Canto, and I love it too. Yeah. And they'll say, oh, there couldn't be anything wrong with it. It was my favorite book. I loved it. Oh my God. There are like 7 commas in the whole book and about 70,000 adverbs. And anytime
You did not care for commas in those days.
No, I was frightened by a comma as a child. And I was never exposed to a semicolon or a colon. And the M dash...
They have groups for that.
The M dash hadn't even been invented yet when I wrote this book. If I could describe something once, I described it 4 times. Every time a woman walks into a room, her hair smells like flowers. Like 10 times. It's not good. But then there are all sorts of things about the book that really are good.
Yeah.
You know, the structure, the narrative, the way time works in the book. I was very impressed by a lot of what I did.
And at the ending, without giving anything away, you write, I'm crying. You say, gosh, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, you're capable of complimenting yourself, too.
But it was because it was me so long ago. Yeah. I'm too much the product of 12 years of a Catholic education to take a book that I've just written and say, this is really good. But I can look back at something I did 24 years ago and say, this is really good, and this is really bad. And both things are true.
How do you, as a novelist, insinuate yourself into so many different kinds of lives? Because particularly in Bel Canto, you're a world-famous opera singer, a businessman, diplomats, hostage negotiator, people who belong to a terrorist cell. How do you transport your imagination from life to life to life and make it believable?
I think it's a lot like acting. I think you learn who those people are, and then when you are speaking for them, you fully inhabit them and you believe in them. And there you are. That's your job. And you practice it all the time. Yeah. I always say, because we can all read and we can all write, we think that it's a very natural process. And it's really much closer to Misty Copeland dancing or Yo-Yo Ma playing the cello. It is talent, but it is so much more practice. And the love of practice. I don't think that there is such a thing as a successful artist who doesn't on some level, just deeply enjoy practicing.
Let me ask you a question about Commonwealth, your novel,
yeah.
but it's larger than Commonwealth. In this case, without giving too much away, a relationship between...
They're never going to read it. Just talk about it. It's fine.
Is it on? I happen to know you can order it from Parnassus Books in Nashville.
Oh my gosh, I can charge it to Scott's Amex. Dude, come on.
Seems to me like I owe at least a few people here that. There's an older writer who has a relationship with someone who is younger. It raises the question, who owns these stories? Do novelists, do writers, do they owe anybody any apologies? Can they simply pick up any lives that they want to, look at them in history, look at them in our present day, and say, I'm going to inhabit that life, at least intellectually and emotionally, and write about it?
Okay, that's a couple of different conversations in terms of that book in which I am both of those characters. I am the older writer stealing the story. I am the younger writer offering up the story. That novel is very much about my family. It is my one autobiographical novel. And I went to everyone in my family before I started and said, I want to write this book. How do you feel about this? This is the kind of book that people write first, not, when they're 50. And everybody in my family was like, yeah, sure, fine, we don't care. I was like, do you understand what I'm saying? I'm going to be writing a book about you. I remember having this conversation with my stepbrother, my youngest stepbrother, who is Albie in the book. And we were sitting in a restaurant, and he had a couple of drinks, and he put his arm around me and was like, I don't care what you say about me. I don't care what you write about me. I love you. Go for it. Knock it out. So and also I gave it to everyone in my family when I finished it in manuscript. Anything that bothers you, anything you want changed. One of my stepsisters said, I wish you would use the word pyromaniac a little less. And I was like, that is actually a really solid piece of criticism. And so I did scale back on that. So that's one story. Are you writing about...
Pyromaniac whose hair smells like flowers.
Exactly, singed flowers. So you're writing about your family. Maybe, in my case, check it out with your family. If you're talking about the larger issue of who owns a story and what we are and are not allowed to write about. I interviewed Andre Dubus III a couple of days ago at the Southern Festival of Books for his essay collection, Ghost Dogs, and we really got into this on stage. And Andre was saying, everybody gets to write about everything. And I was saying, boy, I really believed that for such a long time, and I don't know anymore. And that is, what I want to say about that is my mind is open and my views are changing. And I used to think it was the greatest act of compassion to put yourself into a life that could in no way connect to your own life. And then I think about, and that's great, if it's an abstract, but when it becomes a specific, it changes. So I'm very good friends with Louise Erdrich, who was in Nashville last week for her fabulous book, The Mighty Red. So I am a bookseller first and foremost, and I am constantly telling people what to read. Read The Mighty Red. And
to buy it at bookstores, not to order it from
a
company owned by the publisher of the Washington Post.
Let's assume you all know that, but I'll tell you what, even more than that, I care that you read, not how you read. Get it from a library, read it on a tablet, get it at Amazon, get it at Barnes & Noble, get it from your local independent bookseller. Read the book. That's first. So, would I, as a friend of Louise, write a book in the first person about a character who was an enrolled member of the Turtle mountain tribe of Ojibwe Indians in South Dakota. No, I would not. Because that's her story, and she is my friend. So if I don't know you, and you're not my friend, it's still your story. And I'm not saying one thing is right or wrong for other people, but I am saying for myself, it is something I have to think about very deeply and seriously.
2010, you opened Parnassus Books.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever said to you, oh, really, you ought to get into cryptocurrency?
No.
What?
No.
Well,
Why did I do that? Why did I open a bookstore?
That was my question.
Yeah. It's a really good question. So the bookstores in Nashville closed. It was that time. But we had two bookstores. We had a Borders that was 30,000 square feet. And we had a store called Davis Kid, which had been our local independent, but then was bought by a chain called Joseph Beth. And so they were a small, Davis Kid became part of a small chain. It was also 30,000 square feet. Yeah. They both closed on a corporate level. All those stores went away. So what I knew was that there was 60,000 square feet of retail space in my city that was profitable every month. Those stores were not losing business. Were not losing money. I opened a store that was 2,500 square feet. I figured I could manage that. We were now up to 5,000 square feet. I'm not breathing down Barnes & Noble's neck, but a small community bookstore has been not only sustainable, but profitable. And it's been great. And I will say the thing that I'm proudest about in that bookstore, I had a business partner who retired 3 years ago, and I own the whole crazy store now. And my number one goal in owning a business since my partner retired, and it's just mine, is to make it a really happy place to work. All I care about, really, it's not like literacy and kids and customers. My number one thing is I want a place that people love to come to work. And the kids who say to me, I love working in this bookstore, but my parents want me to get a real job. I wish I could do this for my whole life, but I can't. And I say, I'm going to make sure that I figure out a way that you can do this for your whole life if this is what you want to do. And we're killing it.
You also have a Parnassus Foundation.
Yes, I do.
And I want to, if you could tell us about that, because you've decided to do something with that.
So the Parnassus Foundation, and I don't ever want any of you to send any money to the Parnassus Foundation. Send money to your local library. The Parnassus Foundation is me. You guys are giving me a check tonight. Thank you very much. It goes to the Parnassus Foundation. If I give a talk, if I get an award, that is what that is. And what we do, because I started writing picture books, and this is a very interesting thing that
Landslide.
That I didn't know before I started writing picture books. The only reason I write picture books is because in my bookstore, I met Robin Price Glasser, who is the illustrator for the Fancy Nancy series. And I fell in love with her the minute she walked in the door, and I wanted to be with her as much as I could. So when she said, do you want to write picture books? I was like, man, if it means hanging out with you, I want to write picture books. So if I go on book tour as a grown-up, writing grown-up books, the way the model works is the publisher buys the plane ticket and pays for my food and hotel room, and I go to a venue and I give a talk and I sell books, and that is how the financial model works. If you are a children's book author or a children's book illustrator, you don't go to the bookstore every now and then, but usually not. What you do are school visits. And you can go to 3 or 4 schools a day. It is so much more work, and it is so much more fun. But the financial model is that the kids get a form a week in advance. If you would like Sally to have a copy of the verts, send in your check or Venmo it or whatever for $20, and when the author comes, she'll get a signed copy of the verts. What is the problem with that system? The problem with that system is that the schools that get authors are either private schools or Tony public schools. Kids in Title I schools never get authors and illustrators because they don't have the $20 to buy the book. And so the publisher doesn't send the author to the school. And the effect of that is, of course, kids can't then see themselves as writers and illustrators, but worse than that is that the people who look like the kids in the schools are much less likely to get a publishing contract because they are not as likely to get picked by the Tony private schools because ducks pick ducks. So the Parnassus Foundation buys all the books for the kids. And it's great. And you know what? Again, very Catholic, very hard for me to say, hey, I'm doing this great thing. But the reason that I really want to tell you this is you can do this too. Children's books are cheap. And you can be somebody who says, go to your bookstore. It's good for everybody in the ecosystem. I want to sponsor one author, one book, and I'll buy all the books for the kids. And the bookstore will give them to you at a great discount. And it's a tiny little thing we can do. I have become really obsessed with the idea that it's not enough to work against what we hate. I live in Tennessee, open carry. Open carry, you don't have that in Illinois, do you? You can just...
Not of weapons.
You can tie a gun to your leg, to your upper thigh. These guys, they don't even put the gun in their belt. Like, I keep wanting to come up and say, what, you don't want to trouble yourself to bend your elbow? It has to be tied to your thigh? I am never going to be able to do anything about that. I am never going to be able to do anything about gun laws in Tennessee if I work for the rest of my life. But I can get books to kids. That's it.
I'm gonna chance asking you one last question because you touched on the fact that we're living in what I'll just refer to as contentious times, and we have events coming to obviously a crest very soon. What can literature put into our lives and our world now?
Literature can put into our lives history. Sitting at a table with Jonathan Eng, wrote the fabulous King biography. If you think this is the worst time we've ever lived through, think again. History will remind us that we are strong and brave when united with purpose, and we will survive whatever comes. I believe that what is coming is something beautiful and good. But I want to say this. I gave my money and I gave my time. I will never give my peace of mind. So if you are walking around feeling like you're going to throw up all the time, grab hold of yourself. No one is entitled to your peace of mind and your sanity. You own that. You're responsible for that. Do what you can do, but don't let anyone take that from you.
The Sandburg Award winner, Ann Patchett. Thank you so much.
Can I say one more thing?
I don't think we can stop you, yeah.
such an honor to be here tonight with Cristina Henríquez and with Chance the Rapper and with Scott Simon and with so many wonderful authors and with this public library, which represents the very best. Christina's speech, Cristina, you knocked that out. This represents the best of what we are as a country. Again, support what you love. Thank you.
That concludes this year's Chicago Public Library Foundation Awards. Thank you for tuning in and celebrating with us. You can chart your own path to discovery and keep your learning adventure going by visiting your local library branch. Goodbye.